Hi guys, so today we are continuing the Holy Grails series, and today we are doing my Holy Grail color correctors and concealers. So if that is something you're interested in watching, you're in the right place. We're about to get into it.
I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf.
All right, you guys, so my Holy Grail concealers. This is going to be a long one, so I am going to move fairly quickly to try and get through this topic. First, really quick disclaimer, it is hot in here. I have the window open. I hope you guys can't hear the crickets outside, but if you do, that's what it is. Okay, so what I do want to start with today is color correctors. I've kind of lumped in color correctors and concealers into the same category. I do want to give you guys a caveat really quickly right up front. I do understand there are a lot of concealers out there on the market. We get flooded with them on a daily basis. They all promise to be the end-all be-all concealer that's going to solve all of our under-eye woes. I am obsessed and have always been obsessed with finding the perfect concealer, and I know there are so many on the market. I just did a declutter when it comes to my concealers, and I still have way too many. I'll show you guys a little peek at my collection here. I have so many concealers, it is ridiculous. But again, I'm always on this endless hunt to find the perfect concealer. And one of the main reasons is because as I aged and as we age, we do notice that we start to get some issues pop up underneath our eyes that we didn't have when we were younger. I personally was not a huge fan of wearing sunglasses everywhere that I went. I grew up in South Florida, so I grew up underneath the sun. As a result of that, I do have dark circles underneath the eyes, a lot of hyperpigmentation and discoloration underneath my eyes. In addition to that, I also grew up with lots and lots of allergies, which caused a lot of this to happen in my youth when I was growing up. So I also have a lot of fine lines and wrinkles. Of course, we don't realize these things until we're kind of middle-aged and we start to go, oh wow, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I should have been so much gentler on my eyes. I should have worn more sunscreen. I should have had on sunglasses. Hindsight is always 20/20. But here we are. So not only do I have a lot of hyperpigmentation in the under eye area, my under eye dark circles are incredibly dark. In addition to that, I also have a really deep tear trough, and having a really deep tear trough right here causes a shadow, so it creates even more of a problem for me. On top of that, I have a lot of fine lines and wrinkles, and my under eye skin underneath here is very wrinkly. It's very thin. The top of my lids are also very crepey. All of the types of issues that we deal with as we get older. My under eyes also tend to be incredibly dry. So powder or any kind of drying concealer will age my under eye area exponentially. So I have to really stick with hydrating and nourishing type concealers because of all of those issues. I do tend to be a little picky when it comes to my concealers, and I'm always blowing through a ridiculous amount of concealers, as you can see in my quest to find concealers that are my favorite that I can use on an everyday basis. Having said that, I do have a lot of concealers that I love and I use on the daily. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to go over 3 specific categories. The first one is the color corrector category. This is what I use to kind of cover up dark circles before I apply my concealer. The second category is going to be a normal concealer. Third category is going to be that really, really full coverage, blank out the under eye type of concealer. So those are the 3 categories that we're going to talk about today. I have included drugstore products in here in addition to some very high end in here. I do like quite a wide range of products as my favorites and holy grails, because I don't care. For me, if a product works, it works regardless of how much it costs. So we have a lot of different options here. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to start with color correctors. So the first color corrector I want to talk to you guys about is my preferred color corrector, and this is from Color Science, and it's called the Total Eye 3-in-1 Renewal Therapy Under Eye Cream. And basically what this is they call it a 3-in-1 because not only does this have a 100% mineral SPF of 35, so you are getting your sunscreen right underneath the under eye area, and that's hugely important, is to make sure that you have sunscreen happening underneath your under eye. So if you're not going to put sunscreen underneath there, have sunshades on, or make sure that you have this bad boy. So not only is it going to be your sunscreen, it also has skincare treatment in here as well. So it promises that after 4 weeks of use, you're going to notice that your fine lines and wrinkles are going to start getting refined. In addition to that, it has glycerin, hyaluronic acid, a lot of other hydrating ingredients in here as well. And it's also peach colored, so you get that brightening effect with the kind of color correction underneath the eye. I like this formula. It's a great formula. I like that it has this cooling metal tip here that you can use to just kind of wipe right underneath here, and you get that nice cooling feeling. It is very unique in its disbursement of product. You kind of have to push down on it, and then you can see it just appear right here on the tip just by pushing down, and then you can just go dot 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 and then just pat like this and just go ahead, and you can actually, because it's a sunscreen, I do it all the way around. It actually makes a great primer for above the lid as well, and it's this beautiful peach color that really does help to brighten the under eye area, and it acts like a primer as well, so it does really good with makeup. So if you put makeup or powder on top of it, it's a great formula overall. This is $65, and most of it is because of the skincare ingredients that are in this. But if you're looking for something that is going to be your sunscreen, your color corrector, kind of like a primer, all your skincare treatments all wrapped up into one, then this might be a really good option for you. I absolutely love this product. Next up is a product that you guys have heard me talk about here on the channel before, and that is from Kaja Beauty. Mimi Box and Sephora got together and created a brand called Kaja Beauty. One of the first products that they released was their concealer and a product called Catnap. Now, Catnap is that it gives your under eye area this brightened look, and it makes it look like you took a cat nap and you got a lot of rest, which is why they named it Catnap. But basically what it is it is a peach toned brightening slash color corrector. So it has that beautiful peach tone to it. In addition to that, it's not just a lot of these are color correctors, but they don't brighten. This does. This actually has some brightening ingredients to it. But one thing that I find I really, really like about this particular color corrector is the tone of the peach. It is kind of a deeper tone, which is perfect for canceling out any kind of brown, or like for me it's more of a brown, really, really dark blue type of tone underneath the eye, and this specific color does a great job at canceling out dark circles. In addition to that, it dries down beautifully and concealer lays beautifully on top of it. I also think because this is like kind of K-beauty inspired type of formula, it's a very light, puffy, really airy kind of formula, and you can feel that on the skin. You can feel that it's just this very lightweight type of formula. A lot of color correctors can be a little thick in the under eye area, and when you put a concealer on top of that, you're just really adding to the weight, and you're giving the potential for things to start sinking into fine lines and wrinkles and cracking on you throughout the day. So you want to make sure that your color correctors are pretty lightweight and pretty thin, because you don't want to add extra weight underneath the eye especially. And that's one of the reasons why I really like this product. This product is a beautiful color corrector. If you have dark circles, this is a great option for you. Retails for $19, and again, you can pick it up at Sephora. All right, next up, from a color correcting perspective, we have the Jeffree Star Color Corrector in Peach. Now, one of the reasons why this is my most reached for color corrector is because the Jeffree Star concealer formula is one of the most pigmented, but one of the most thinnest concealer formulas that I have ever worked with. This is very opaque. It has a lot of pigment in it, but the formula is so thin and so lightweight. So this Peach makes an amazing color corrector. Now, there isn't a lot of brightening properties with this. So this is going to be for canceling out dark circles underneath the eyes, and it does an amazing job at doing that. Because it has a beautiful dry down, and because it's so thin and so lightweight, it makes it a perfect color corrector. It lasts all day. It's incredibly affordable. I love the applicator on this color corrector as well. This has become by far one of my favorite color correctors. If I am using a very brightening concealer, so I don't necessarily need a brightening color corrector. So a lot of concealers nowadays are already brightening, and if you put a brightening color corrector underneath the eye and then a brightening concealer on top of that, sometimes your under eyes can draw a little bit more attention, and that's not a good thing when we're trying to conceal things underneath the eye, not put a spotlight underneath our eye. So a lot of times if I'm using a brightening concealer, this is my go-to color corrector because it is just a color corrector. There's no brightening properties to it. It's just a beautiful color corrector that blanks out dark circles, and concealers and other products lay beautifully on top of it. And because it's so thin and so lightweight, it's a perfect layering product. I love this product, and it retails for, I think these are $19 a piece, so not bad at all considering the quality of the product. So this is definitely one of my favorite color correctors. Next up is my absolute favorite color corrector in the drugstore space, and I reach for this one all the time. Those of you that have been around on this channel for a while already know which one I'm going to talk to you about, and that is from Kokie Cosmetics, and that is the Be Bright Illuminating Concealer in the color Peach. So they have a concealer called their Be Bright Illuminating Concealer. It's a hydrating concealer that has glycerin in like the top 5 ingredients. They also have a peach version of that. Not only is this a beautiful color corrector, but this is also got a little bit brightening properties to it. Not as extreme as like the Kaja or the Color Science, but it has a little bit of brightening properties to it. The Be Bright Illuminating Concealer has just an overall gorgeous formula. It retails for $8. I don't know what Kokie did to come up with this concealer formula, but it is one of my favorite drugstore concealer formulas, and I love using the Peach as a color corrector. It does an amazing job, incredibly lightweight, very hydrating for the under eye area, and overall definitely one of my most reached for. And then, of course, the last one to round out this specific category is the one that we just talked about, and that is the Charlotte Tilbury Color Corrector. I have to admit, guys, I've used this every day since I got it. I think I've used the Color Science a couple of times, and I also have used the Kokie a couple of times, but in the last probably 3 weeks since I have had this one, I've used this one. Mainly because it's so hydrating underneath the eyes, and it does a great job at brightening underneath the eyes. If you guys have not tried the color correctors from Charlotte Tilbury, I absolutely 100% recommend these to you guys. I will link up here somewhere the review that we did on the correctors and the foundation, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you guys already know about it. We've already talked about it here on the channel, but I use this one more than any other one right now. These are them, guys. These are my top shelf, what I'm reaching for every day to color correct my dark circles. It's one of these products. So there you go, my Holy Grail color correctors. Now, let's move on to the next category, which is just normal concealers. These are going to be my Holy Grail everyday reached for concealers right now. And I'll be honest with you guys, it changes quite a bit. But I can honestly say that these have been pretty steady throughout 2019. So for this year, at least. First, I'm going to talk to you about this one because it's a little bit of a blend between a concealer and a color corrector. It's a very lightweight concealer. I like to use this one if I'm just running to the grocery store, going to the school to meet parents, going to the shop really quickly, anything that I just need to slap on something underneath the eyes just to make me look awake. And that is the Instant Concealer from Clarins. This is not going to be like a really blank out the under eye area type of product. I got this in shade number 2, which is a very peachy shade, so it does a great job at covering my dark circles and giving me a little bit of coverage, but it's very, very hydrating. There's not a whole lot of coverage here. It gives you a little bit of brightening. It has that peach tone to it to correct dark circles, and it gives me a lot of hydration, but it just doesn't have a whole lot of pigment. However, it is a beautiful formula. So if you're looking for just a very sheer kind of lightweight concealer, then the Instant Concealer from Clarins is a beautiful formula. You get a whole bunch of product in here too. I've had this forever and I haven't even used half of this yet. And you just have to use a very little teeny tiny amount. You just put like a little dip right there on the end of your finger, and what I will do is I'll rub my 2 fingers together like this, and then I'll just doot underneath my eyes. So this product will last you forever. The expiration on it is 18 months, which is nice, so you can keep this for about 1.5 years before you have to chuck it. So it is a little bit on the pricey side, but you get a lot of product and it lasts a really long time. So if you're looking for a really good everyday go-to, this is a great one. Another really good concealer that I've talked about here is from Shisedo. Now, I have talked to you guys about the Shisedo foundation in a previous video. This is the concealer that came out with the foundation. This is their Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Concealer. Now, this retails for like $31. This is a very lightweight under eye concealer. It's not going to give you like blank out under eyes, but it is a beautiful concealer, everyday concealer. The one thing I like about this is they say it's like self-refreshing, so it like refreshes itself throughout the course of the day. To me, that just means it's hydrating, and that's what it does, is that it keeps the under eye area nice and hydrated so your under eye area doesn't dry out on you throughout the day. I actually really like the applicator on this as well. It's kind of this hourglass shaped applicator, so you can swipe or you can just do dots too. It'll allow you to just do swipes or little teeny tiny dots, and I usually just do dots around here. But the one thing that I do love about this concealer is it's very, very thin, so you really just don't even feel that you have this underneath the eyes because it's so thin. But it has a good amount of coverage. I will pop a little bit of a color corrector right here, put a couple of dots of this underneath the eye and tap it out, and I'm good to go to an event, out to eat. It's a beautiful, beautiful concealer. One of the main things that I love about this is that it's sweat resistant. They say it resists heat, sweat, oil, and it's waterproof, and they say it's going to last for 24 hours, you know, all of the big crazy claims. This is incredibly long lasting. I've worn this, and you know how at the end of the day you'll sit down, you'll look at your makeup, and all of your foundation will be gone, but you can still see your concealer. That's one of these. It lasts forever. So wherever you put this, it's not going to budge, but it doesn't have a horrible dry down that makes you super, super dry, which a lot of long lasting concealers do. This is not like that. It moves and flexes with your skin. No settling into fine lines and wrinkles. They say that this is full coverage. I would classify this a little bit more as like a medium to full coverage. It does have quite a bit of pigment in it though, so it'll do the job if you've got a color corrector on underneath as well. Incredibly lightweight. It's very, very comfortable. I love wearing this if I know I'm struggling with my allergies and I'm going to have like an itchy, watery eye day. This is the one I reach for because it really is budge proof. It stays pretty waterproof, pretty smudge proof, doesn't sink into fine lines and wrinkles, keeps my under eyes hydrated. Overall, really good product. Next up is the drugstore concealer. That is the Kokie Be Bright Concealer. Now, I know we have already talked about the color corrector. This is the concealer. The concealer itself is the same exact formula as the color corrector, so I love it for all the same exact reasons. It's a brightening concealer, so it really brings a lot of beautiful brightening to the under eye area, but look how much coverage you get out of this little drugstore concealer. This is just a little powerhouse, and they call it the Be Bright Illuminating Concealer because it really does give you this kind of radiant look to the under eye area. It's very brightening. It makes your under eye area look really nice and healthy. It keeps your under eye area from drying out. It doesn't settle into fine lines and wrinkles, and you get a good amount of coverage out of this bad boy. Again, it retails for $8, one of my all-time favorite drugstore concealers. And last but not least in this category is also a drugstore concealer, and it may surprise you guys to know that I still to this day reach for my Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. I mean, which one of us doesn't still reach for this every once in a while? Honestly, you guys, this is always been one of the best drugstore concealers out there. It's very, very hydrating. The formula is amazing. It has haloxyl in the formula, which is great to keep the under eye area hydrated. It also has goji berry extracts in it as well, which is really good from an antioxidant perspective. It doesn't sink into fine lines and wrinkles. It lasts all day long. They finally expanded their shade range for a drugstore concealer. This is really, really good. They have one that's called the Neutralizer, which is supposed to just neutralize dark circles. I find that one is a little bit too light for me. I actually use Light Honey. It's very, very opaque. You get a lot of coverage out of this, but it's very soft and it brightens the under eye. It leaves you with this kind of radiant look. And I mean, just look at it. It's stunning. It is one of the best drugstore concealers and definitely worth mentioning because it's still one that I toss in my purse, take with me on vacation. This does the trick. Great formula, really inexpensive. So if it works, definitely stick with it. And typically you'll find this at Ulta. You can also find it in any drugstore. And if I'm not mistaken, it usually retails between like $6, $7, $8, like right in that range. Inexpensive, works great. All right, now we're getting into my category, the full beat, full coverage, blank out the under eye area, glam, event, date night concealers. And these are like my top shelf concealers. So you guys have hear me talk about it all the time. This is not going to be a surprise to anyone, but the Essential High Coverage Liquid Concealer from Jouer. This has probably been my most reached for concealer. Anytime that I want to glam it up and look beautiful, this is what I reach for. This is the most hydrating, full coverage concealer out there. It just feels amazing under my eyes. It doesn't budge. The pigment is ridiculous. It's so full coverage, but it doesn't budge. It's very lightweight and it's hydrating. That's the thing that I love the most about this concealer, is that it actually hydrates the under eye area. It doesn't just prevent the under eye area from drying out. It doesn't just retain moisture from your skin in the under eye area. This actually pushes hydration into your under eye area, which is what I need. But it's a very full coverage as well. It has this microsphere kind of technology as well that really goes a long way when it comes to fine lines and wrinkles, and kind of playing tricks with the light so that you get that kind of blurring effect underneath the eye. I cannot say enough about this concealer. I have every concealer that I buy, I stack it up against this concealer to see if it's better than this concealer or not. This is always the concealer that I compare brand new concealers to. I always compare it to this because when this came out, I never looked back, you guys. It has a huge amount of hyaluronic acid in here, and it's just a beautiful concealer. So this is definitely an everyday in the full glam category. Next up in the full glam category, of course, is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Away. I also love this concealer, especially if I'm looking for a full glam, full blank out of the under eye area. However, I hate this applicator, you guys. I ripped the applicator off of mine. For those of you that don't know, normally this applicator looks like this. It has a little sponge on the end of it. This one is the one that I use every day, so this one does not have that sponge applicator on here. One thing I noticed about this concealer is that when you put it underneath the eye, it does have a lot of hydrating properties to it, which is why I like it. But when it sets, so it's not like really going to budge or go anywhere. The problem with that is when the product gets into the sponge and then you put a cap on it, well, that product is going to dry on the sponge. It's going to set, and that sponge eventually will get full of product. It'll be set, in the sponge, and new product has a really hard time dispersing evenly through that sponge, and it ends up getting gunky and is just a mess. So I just ripped it off, and I actually just use a concealer brush. I will just take a concealer brush and get a little bit on it and just go in underneath the eye. But this is still one of my favorite concealers for those nights where I just want a full coverage underneath the eye, because it's very hydrating. It's a beautiful formula. I have a full review of this up on the channel. Feel free to go back and check that one out. Definitely makes the cut. All right, next up is one that may surprise you guys. I reach for this a lot. Now, I reach for this one if I know it's going to be really hot outside. If I'm going to be like around a pool or in like summer kind of settings where I'm going to be hot, sweaty, might get splashed on, any type of like intense kind of situation like that, this is what I reach for. And that is the Bye Bye Under Eye. And this is an anti-aging waterproof concealer is the way that they bill this. This is such a thick concealer, you really kind of have to know how to work with it. And the way that I have found works for me is I put the tiniest amount, like a little tiny dot on the back of my hand, and I'll warm my finger up just by rubbing my finger on the palm of my hand until it starts to get warm, and then I'll take the heat from my finger and it just melts that product out. And once that product melts out like that, because it's very thick, the heat of your finger will melt that product out to a beautiful consistency. And once I have it like this, I will just press dots 1, 2, 3 underneath the eye, and then I will take a concealer brush and I will buff out that concealer underneath the eye, and it blends and melts into the skin beautifully. The coverage is ridiculous. I mean, the pigment there is insane. This will cover up anything. It is a beautiful, radiant concealer that has such good for you ingredients in the ingredients list that it's insane. It will keep your under eye area incredibly hydrated. Now, having said that, Once I use this, I will need to go to like a setting powder. And you can't put a lot of powder on top of this concealer because it's so thick as a cream concealer. I really will take the lid of my setting powder and I'll take a little teeny tiny brush like this and I'll run it in there, tap off the excess, and then I will just lightly dust just like this and be done. That is all the powder that I tap onto this product. But because it is so creamy and so emollient, I do have to do that with powder just to make sure that it doesn't get into my little creases underneath here. Because again, it's so creamy that it's going to do that. It's a beautiful concealer, you guys. It is absolutely worth the hassle to work with the product and figure out how it is best for you to use it. It's an amazing product. It has such good for you ingredients in it. Very nourishing to the under eye area. The pigment is ridiculous and it stays for a long time. They just expanded the shade range and they popped out the shades to like a ridiculous amount. So I'm sure you guys can find your shade match now. It used to be ridiculously small, but now it is ridiculously large. So you can get this in just about every shade out there. I wear 21.5, which is medium nude. It's got a little bit of a neutral undertone to it. And that is like I'm going to be in extreme circumstances. So I really need some high coverage, not gonna budge, but not drying concealer. That's the one that I reach for. So definitely in my top category. And then last but not least, to round this video out, finally, we've gotten to the end. We've actually talked about this concealer here on this channel already, and that is the Catrice One Drop Coverage Weightless Concealer. If you're looking for a full blank out underneath the eyes and you want something that's very, very hydrating and something that is so cheap it's ridiculous, then definitely check out this. When they say one drop weightless concealer, that's a perfect way to describe this formula. So one drop is enough for me to do 2 eyes. One drop is a little bit too much for one eye, but one drop will absolutely just blank out your under eye area. Look at how full coverage that is. Oh my gosh, you guys, it is ridiculous. But look at how smooth that is, you guys. It's incredibly hydrating. It covers everything in the under eye area. It lays beautifully. It sets down even more pretty. It's insane. This formula, I don't know how Catrice did this, and I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. This is this is an amazing concealer, but we have a whole review on this, so I'm not going to bore you guys with it. You guys already know that I absolutely adore this concealer. Definitely a full coverage, full beat concealer though, so only use that if you guys are looking for something that falls in that third category that we talked about tonight of like full coverage, blank out the under eyes. It has that much pigment in it. All right, you guys, that is it. That rounds up today's video. I have so many honorable mentions of concealers that I absolutely love. I just don't use them that much. They're just not in my rotation. These are like my ride or dies. They've been around forever. These are the ones that I lean on and I trust, that never let me down. These are my Holy Grails. So let me know if you guys have tried any of these products. Let me know what you guys think about these products. I am so excited to get into the comment section with you guys and hear what you guys think about some of these products. I will make sure they are all listed in the description box below as well. Don't forget, we have the contest going on for the Sahara Palette from Alter Ego. That contest runs between now and October the 3rd. We will be doing the live stream here on this channel to announce the winner October the 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure that you guys are here for the live stream. I hear there's some other things that we're going to give away that night on the live stream as well. So make sure that you guys are going to be here. It's going to be a lot of fun. All you have to do to enter to win that palette is go back to the Sahara Palette review. Make sure that you like the video. Leave a comment down in the comment section saying how to reach you in the event that you're the winner. And of course, make sure that you're a subscriber. All right, you guys, listen, I hope all of you are all very, very happy. And I hope you are all very, very healthy. And I will see you guys in the next video. Mwah.